terrible things that can happen if we do not rise up and speak and live and shine a light in the very hour we need to.
Brothers and sisters, there's been a massive amount of people that have been dreaming about the secret rapture lately, saying that they have seen in their dreams or their visions Jesus coming back and rapturing the church secretly before the abomination of desolation would even come in place, which is the son of perdition, which Daniel 5 and 7 speaks about in Matthew 24 rather, Luke 21 and Mark 13 also depict in a linear comparative study. However, it is striking for me how much these people are being deceived, because the Lord tells us to go back to scriptures as our foundational basis for all things, and to test the spirits to see whether they are approved of God or not. I was meaning to do this video for a while, but God had another plan for me. He had other topics prior to this one, and today it is time for me to debunk this doctrine, which is fairly new, by the way, and came about in the 1800s by a man called Darby, who's obviously a false prophet because he's altering the contextual understanding of the Bible by coming up with these lies, or having come up with these lies through a Bible called the Scofield Bible. Now, it only takes a minute to truly understand what this doctrine is all about and how false it is, and what the Bible suggests instead in terms of the end days studies. If we go to Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13, and other passages which we could compare by studying linearly, we will see that Jesus gave clear indications as to how the series of events will unfold in the last days. When challenged with the question by his apostles about the latter end of time, he told them that many signs and wonders would happen in the last days, and one of them being the fact that many will come and deceive many, even the elect if possible. But he also went on telling them in Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13 specifically, that there's a chronology before he comes back. And that chronology implied that the abomination of desolation would have to come first and take dominion in the high place or in the temple, whatever that means, for example. And that is none other than Satan himself, the son of perdition, which is described in the book of Daniel 5, 7, and 9, I believe. And great tribulation, like it's never been in the world, neither will ever be afterwards. Jesus warning us that that time would be a terrifying time for the Christians, when the Christians would be persecuted and also run for their lives because they are being killed all day, every day for their faith. And then if you keep reading, you would see that great signs would happen in the sky, such as the darkening of the sun, and the moon also losing its light. And then immediately after that, then Jesus would come back with a shout of the archangel and the sounding of a trumpet, telling the whole world that he has come back as the second coming, and not the third coming, as opposed to what the secret rapture endorsers would actually claim. Jesus was very clear about the series of events and the way things would unfold. He never said that the secret rapture would happen before the abomination of desolation would come in place, before the son of lawlessness would reveal himself to the whole world. And Jesus clearly told us that we would undergo the great tribulation. And in fact, if you read the New Testament, nowhere does it say that we won't be persecuted for our faith. It's quite the opposite. At 30 different instances, the Bible reminds us that we will be persecuted, but also reminds us to not be discouraged, but to take heed and be in the joy of the Lord instead, because Jesus himself has conquered the world. Now, what would you say about our brothers and sisters scattered abroad in different places in the world, across the nations, for their faith, being killed in China, for example, for the simple fact that they're Christians, or hiding in the underground church in the Middle East, like in Iran more specifically, or other countries such as Saudi Arabia? How come they haven't been secretly raptured as of yet, if the secret rapture was to happen, and if we were not to be persecuted? And unfortunately, what these Christians fail to understand is that the judgment of God, or the wrath of God, that will happen in the seventh seal and the seventh trumpet, found in the 7th chapter of the book of Revelations, alongside the chapter 11 and 21, is different from the persecution that the church will undergo. The church will endure great persecution, just as the Christians before have all these martyrs, these prophets, these apostles, these men and women of God that have tremendously suffered. Most apostles were killed in a very brutal way. They have died in a gruesome way, just as Jesus died. And Jesus said that the servant is not above the master. If he was hated first, then how much should we be hated as well? Now, keep in mind that Jesus prayed a prayer unto the Father. And he said the following words. He said, Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. He never said, thy will be done in the sky or in heaven. He said, thy will be done here on earth as it is in heaven. Meaning that the new earth and the new heavens will be exchanged. And the Bible clearly tells us that they will be rolled up like a scroll, and that Jesus' dominion will be on earth, and that we will judge the nations with Jesus Christ in the heavenly city, which is the spiritual Jerusalem, for 1,000 years. And then Jesus would put an end to his enemies before judgment day and before all things take an end. So today, my brothers and sisters, I'm inviting you to reconsider this doctrine, which is a lie out of the pit of fire. And many will fall for that trap because they'll think that Jesus has already come when Jesus has yet not come. Jesus says that he's going to come at a time that is unexpected, but not before the abomination of desolation makes his way into the world. We see what's happening around us today, and we see that clearly we are in the last hour, which is why we need to be super cautious and diligent about what we put in our ears. And we have to test the signs of the time. And we have to understand the word for what it stands for, my friend. Don't be tossed to and fro by false doctrines. Instead, go back to these passages that I clearly mentioned to you earlier and read Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, 1 Thessalonians chapter number 4, 2 Thessalonians chapter number 2, Revelation 6, 7, 11, 12, and 21 and 22. And please see for yourself what the word has to say for itself. Don't put in your own understanding of the word. You have to take the whole counsel of God and not cherry pick verses here and there. If people tell you, here he is in the desert, don't believe it. If they tell you, there he is on the rooftop, don't believe it. As long as you're not in a glorified body, that implies that the Jesus that you will see is a fake Jesus. Because when Jesus comes back, since we're going to be changed in a twinkling of an eye with Jesus caught up in the air, but not to stay there, to come back and to rule the nations from Jerusalem, the holy city. God bless you.